vous souhaite la bienvenue. C'est la première assemblée communautaire, au fait, qui va parler du climat dans la région de Prescott-Russell. Donc, you're making history, vous faites partie de l'histoire. Puis, c'est vraiment une conversation. On entame une discussion. Donc, these first discussions we're having on climate change, that's community-based, so it's really important to hear your voices. And we as a coalition, we're going to be transmitting your voices over to world leaders in March. So whatever's happening here today, we can transmit your voices, your opinion. And that's part of a larger project as well. So there's one happening here in Prescott-Russell, but I think in Canada, the only one is in Vancouver. And, but this is a worldwide initiative where these community assemblies are going on to get communities to talk about climate change and ecological crisis, but also about climate solutions. So envisioning a greener, a better future for all of us, right?
So the first activity of the day, la première activité du jour, on va commencer with some storytelling. We're going to start with some storytelling to get to know one another. We'll get to know one another, we'll talk about the environment and climate change right away, but in a very personal way. So I find storytelling is a very powerful way to build empathy and trust with people, and so we invite you to each share a story to begin. So everyone has a unique relationship and experience with nature, and the impacts and the perceptions of those experiences are felt very differently. We'd like you to think about your unique personal life experience, unique to you, where you live, where you work, your income, your family, your friends and community, your beliefs and upbringing in a group of 3 at your table.
I'll start with the fact that, as I mentioned to Pierre, it'll be 7 years ago, come July, that I had a heart transplant, okay? So I'm a 70-year-old with the heart of a 39-year-old, okay? So I'm lucky. At the same time, I guess part of it is you come back, and even while you're waiting for this transplant that may or may not happen, okay, why am I here? You know, what's the purpose of it all, okay? And I basically figured it to me that the purpose of life is a life of purpose.
Yes.
And making money, well, I've made some money, I've lost some money, I'm doing okay, I'm alive, I'm here, okay? And at the same time, am I worried about the future for myself? Not really. If I have another 10 years, that's a bonus. I'm already working on a bonus now, okay? And am I worried about grandchildren? Not so far. I have a 39-year-old daughter, a 37-year-old son, but none of them have any kids so far and likely won't. But at the same time, I look at everything I've managed to have through life. Okay? I'm a winner. Even just living, enjoying it, breathing, being in a healthy environment, healthy family, healthy entourage. I'd like to think others have a chance to have that same sort of a world. Okay? And I worked a lot with Native communities, and their real thing is 7-generation thinking. Okay? Always try to do what you can today in function of those you'll never get to meet, but hopefully you can have something to influence what's good for them. Okay? So in many ways, it's a matter of the reverence of life for me, and not so much my own, but that of others. Okay? Mm-hmm. So through circumstances, I've really become more of an environmental activist, maybe even a militant. Okay? So that's what's really pushing me. And I've worked in the political world for all my life, provincial, municipal, intergovernmental, etc., etc. And I know how that works, and it's not necessarily a bad world as much as everybody might think it is, okay? A lot of them are there for the right reasons. And actually, I'd say most of them are there for the right reasons, but they don't necessarily know how. And we're into systems that we've built that, quite frankly, we've built on the wrong premises, you know. We've worked at trying to just have more, always have more. We've been pushed into thinking profit, thinking of growth, okay? But our economic growth comes at a cost, and it's been at a cost of our environment, at the cost of our ecology. And unless we do that, what we're finding out is we've really been raping it to the extent that we're eating the golden egg, but we're not taking care of the golden goose, okay? Yeah, so if we don't take care of the golden goose and we don't change our system, to be more earth-oriented or concerned about the ecology, we're screwed.
I guess the story I want to relate to, the present and the future is more of a practical basis about climate change and ecology, and I'll get right to the point. I'm looking at changing my car, and I'm listening. I'm an engineer as background. I used to fix ships for a living, Navy ships. So now I'm in the process of looking at my next car, and I firmly believe that to address this ecological thing, everybody has to do their part, and starting with me in this case. So I'm sitting out there, okay, what kind of car am I going to drive in the future? Am I ready for an electric car, and what kind of electric car? And when I'm listening to the radio, I'm looking around, and Gary, when you were talking about the system, there's a conundrum that we live in. On one side, we're listening to commercials talking about, let's pick up the Grey Cup today. And I can assure you, every other commercial will be about your good old Dodge Ram and your pickup truck and your Chevy and the Jeep, and you got a vroom vroom, and the power is under the wheel and you can do it. And the system, the marketing, the ads are telling us, you deserve it, and you can, even further, you can stretch payment over, 60 months, 70 months, 80 months, 90 months. The payment are only a few dollars a week, so why not, and so that's on one side. And on the other side, I'm asking the question when I'm looking at myself is, what are my choices? I'm looking in the future, and I need transportation. I don't think I'm going to have a horse and a buggy anymore. So again, my story is, I think I'm ready to jump into an electrical vehicle. So I need to shop, and of course there's investment to it. And from an engineer point of view, I'm looking at, I want something reliable, but I'm also looking at my friends. So I want to challenge my friends, and what are you guys doing? And I'm kind of, I love my friends, and they're just wonderful people, but a lot of them are driving big, large, beautiful pickup trucks. So to make things a little bit humorous, bring a little bit of humor, I'd like to challenge some of my friends as well. So when are you ready to jump into the e-wagon? And if not, why not? Because we all have to do our parts. So that's my stories.
So I guess I'll piggyback a little bit off the themes of both of your stories. So I actually used to work in the construction industry before I came here. I worked in the office of an infrastructure company. And when I got there, I was beyond shocked to see that they didn't recycle. To me, recycling is the absolute most basic thing you can do for any kind of impact to help the environment. And they didn't recycle. And this is a construction company, so they go through so much paper, just all the time. There's paper everywhere. So I decided to start a recycling program there. And as long as I was the one who was actively walking around to everyone's office, picking up the paper off their desk, sorting the things into the right things, sending it with someone to take to the recycling plant, things were going well. But I got so frustrated in the 8 years that I worked there that no one could figure out how to do this for themselves. Nobody understood just that, paper and plastic go in different places, or that you need to rinse your yogurt container before you throw it in there. And so I think that was one of the big things that drove me to switch my job and to start working at a place that was more environmentally motivated and more ecologically minded, just because I couldn't fathom that there are still people in the world who don't even grasp the basic concept of recycling. And I know that recycling is not necessarily a perfect system. It's definitely not going to solve climate change. But to not even be able to make that one tiny little step really, really frustrated me, to know that there are so many people out there who are still thinking that way, and not necessarily, older people who are set in their ways. It's younger people too who just can't be bothered to do that kind of thing. So I love seeing people like this who are of the same mind as me, that everyone needs to make just that tiny little step, one little thing. If everyone does one little thing, it doesn't even have to be as big as buying an electric car, as amazing as that is. But if everyone would just start with one step, and then once you've got that one step done, move on to the next step. And it's so, so, so easy, and we all have the power to make such a big difference. Just really need to stop being lazy and, like you said, profit motivated and all those things. Those are the things that are really just It's so simple. There's so many simple solutions that we are not taking advantage of just because we want convenience and we don't want to have to worry about it and it's somebody else's problem. And like you said with the 7 generations, it's fine. You're going to be fine. You're going to be, like you said, you've got 10 years left. What do you care if the earth blows up in 50 years? But I mean, I care. I'm still going to be around, and I care about my niece and nephew who are definitely still going to be around. And so those are kind of, that's my main motivation. Like the 7 generation thing, the seeing people who are just so selfish and set in their ways, it's frustrating. And I would love to have people just get out of their own way and start taking accountability for their actions.
There are big sticky notes at your table. And we'll invite you to do a visioning activity first. So I'd like to invite you to close your eyes for the next few minutes if you'd feel comfortable doing that. And visualize the life that you hope for in 20 years for you, for your children, or even your grandchildren. So try to picture who you're visioning for and what do you hope for their life in 20 years. So I'll invite you to think about, what do you see, what do you feel, even what do you smell in that 20-year life from now? What is our world like? What's similar or different from the world that you see today? And 2 key questions. What relationship are you imagining for our community with nature or our environment? And what relationships are you imagining for yourself with your community? And you can define community however that is meaningful for you. What do you see? What do you feel? What are your surroundings like? I guess I'll take my mic off here and we can just do a little bit of a summary of what we're seeing here. So in the present, we're using words like anxious, uncertain, still a long way to go. That's a few words, but that's okay. It's true. I use the word busy, concerned, divided, inquiétude, pushback from politicians, timid, open-minded, overwhelming, and some more positive words that I'm seeing for the present are possible, engaged, engaging, similar, trustful, hopeful, optimistic with a heart. Thank you for that. Perseverance, absolutely. There's a lot more words for the future, which is interesting that we were feeling compelled to describe our future and our hope for the future a lot more in detail. I'm seeing intimacy, hope, integrated, a future that is fun, healthy, one that has regenerative farming, harmony, generosity, peace with nature, ingéniosité et entraide, collaboration, harmonie, harmony comes up a couple of times, abundance, confidence, healthy comes up a couple of times for our future, belonging to community, geese. Thank you, Gary. This resonates with me because I see, we're in the migration path here in Prescott-Russell, and there are literally thousands of geese going over my house every day. Some of them poop on me, but we want those geese. We wanted to see those geese in the future too, right? Those natural cycles and patterns that mark our lives. Cycling everywhere, slowing down. Yes. Nature and bathing, permaculture, decisions based on more than just the economy. Small, just the word small. Sustainable. Young, diverse political leaders. I think I've got most of them here. More effort. I'm sorry if I missed some. No exhaust fumes. Maybe some cleaner air in our future. That'd be great. Peace with nature. And circular. Reduced meat and dairy consumption. Love. I think intimacy was also on there. Yeah, sorry, I might have already mentioned that one. Please feel free to come up close to these boards and sit with them for a minute or two on your lunch or later in the day, I think these words are all very, very powerful. And thank you for being part of creating that vision together. The last exercise of the day, we're going to bring it to the local level, to the individual, the group, the new connections that we formed today. What are we looking to do locally around the issue of the climate and ecological crises? How do we change the path starting here at home? So we will take about 25 minutes. So this will take us to about 12:30 when we will have our pizza and music to celebrate all that we've accomplished today. So as you saw, experts say that our ways of living are deeply embedded into our societies from worldviews shaped and passed down over centuries. It's no one person's fault that we're here. It's entire systems that need to be reconsidered. So let's talk about what those local opportunities are to make changes on that scale and what we as individuals can do. At your table, I'll invite you to write individual answers. Please discuss together, but anybody can grab a pen and a sticky note and write answers to the questions. And we have some flip charts here with what are the themes of our actions, our opportunities for change that we can take locally. One of them is a general theme, climate solutions. Quelles sont les solutions climatiques ici à Prescott-Russell ou même Ville d'Ottawa? What are climate solutions that we're starting to see here that are really exciting and that we would like to see grow? Then getting a bit more specific, what can we do to grow those climate solutions that we're seeing or starting to see or hoping to see? What specific actions could we do this week, this month, this year to grow those climate solutions that are local here? And there's a third sheet as well that is one that's very near and dear, and we're so glad that we have Emmanuelle in the group with her social work background, because as the UCCA, as our group, we discuss a lot how to take care of ourselves and how to take care of each other. And it's a big part of how we talk about the issue of climate change especially. So if you have actions that you take to take care of yourself or others that you'd like to share with other people when thinking about these big, sometimes scary issues, please feel free to write what those are and stick those up under the taking care board as well. Because I always find, the more tools I have in my toolkit for my mental health, the better, the better I can apply them and continue doing this important work. So does anyone have questions about the exercise? Please, as I said, discuss. I think a lot of people have talked about solutions already at their tables, so now's the opportunity to dive into that more. And again, adding what can we do as individuals and how can we take care of ourselves and each other as we do this work. Yep, Richard?
You said as individuals, but was it also a community sense, or it's still local community?
Yeah, I'd like you to think about yourself as an individual and how you engage with the community. So perhaps the idea is I want to hold an event about something, or I want to approach an elected representative or something. So it has that community aspect to it, but it's what you're doing. I would really like people to own the actions as much as possible, but please do get creative with it as well. That's just a suggestion. Alors, on va prendre les prochaines 20 minutes pour cet exercice. Je vous invite à consulter les résultats qu'on a sur tous les tableaux d'aujourd'hui pendant le dîner. Et on va prendre comme EcoS, je peux dire qu'on va prendre les actions en compte quand on fait nos planifications stratégiques. Alors, vos contributions sont vraiment appréciées, and they'll definitely help inform the work that we're doing in Prescott and Russell.
And in introducing cost savings and talking the language of money, that's the vehicle to get these big organizations who are kind of detached from the roots in the ground that's the entry point, saying, look, this is good for you as well, and here's how everyone else is going to benefit by doing only minor tweaks to your structure, you know? So like changing the infrastructure, like as you know, it seems like a daunting task, but if it's done right, I believe there's efficient ways that it can be done without, you know, upsetting the apple cart or, you know, unweaving the entire sweater or whatever analogy you want to use. There's ways we can do this. And
so just to tie it back again to the media conversation we had, what I'm teasing out of this is that we can choose to connect and be those connectors, right? And so that's great. The other piece we can do is be actively informed, and others can actively inform us as well. They play a role, right? So recognizing our role within that sort of ecosystem, I guess, is really important.
Well, yeah, I think the world is so complicated. I think it's really difficult for one person to be an expert on all fronts, you know what I mean? And so that's why getting together in groups like this, because everybody brings something to the table, you know? And so we share expertise. You know, we can't spend our lives doing all this research, right? But on the other hand, somebody give me a 5-minute conversation, I'm benefiting from their weeks and weeks and weeks of study, and I walk away with not the same amount of knowledge, but at least I'm informed, you know? So I really value the fact that we can get together in these kind of, you know, events and share these ideas.
Right, and I like your idea about individuals supporting. So when I think of local things, I'm thinking of Taylor, this guy over here. He's been going to levels of government, telling them we got to have climate action plan. It's time. It's now. We must go to the climate action plan. So just the idea of supporting such a person is valuable. You can write letters to the editor, whatever you have time for. But yeah.
I take care of myself, I guess, by celebrating nature by taking pictures. I take photography and I celebrate little things like mushrooms and scenes that I can capture and sort of preserve, and that hopefully inspire others to look at the micro and the little stuff and find beauty and maybe a little bit of guilt that if that goes away, we won't have that anymore, right? Yeah. Changes, right? Next year and the years forward, how can I observe my personal garden, my green space around me, and see if there's an evolution? Is it a positive evolution that I'm seeing? Am I seeing more milkweeds and more butterflies and more birds, for example? Or is it a negative evolution? And sort of gauging my then A, just awareness, but B, I guess, some action, call to action of any sort.
And to a large extent, that depends on a person's background. I find I came from a farming background originally, and I can't drive through this area without observing every single crop and how well it's doing, and whether there's low spots or high spots that fare differently than the rest of it. And year to year, what's doing well in farmers' fields and what's not. So, but you know, that my experience came from farming, but anybody who has experience like in any natural settings can make the effort to say, as I'll go back to that natural setting on a regular basis and discover the differences. People, I never notice it because I'm so used to leaves changing color in the fall. Just when it occurs, I hardly notice it because I have always grown up in the area where the leaves change color. But some people mentioned that this year it was later and shorter than ever before that they remember, and that some, I don't even remember what varieties that, but they said some trees didn't really show their colors well at all this year. And that, of course, is an observation of nature that people attuned to that, keep track of what's really going on in climate change. And I think that keeps their awareness up. Yeah.
Right, and it's accessible too, Gary, right? So it doesn't matter whether you can actually, take time. I was thinking about the privilege that we have today to spend 1 hour driving, coming here, spending half a day here, and exchanging, right, in the language, what privilege is that? But looking and observing and assessing sort of is accessible to others, to anybody, right? So, yeah.
very fundamental level, I love hearing both of you talk about your connection with nature because, you know, internet technology, it's really super easy to be detached from that. And I love grounding ourselves. Hey, we're organic, you know what I mean? We are actually part of the environment in every capacity. So recognizing that, I think, is pretty key. It's good motivation, huh?
Your suggestion, I hope you're putting it up there, of like the local net zero.
Well, it's part of our sheet, so I'm assuming that they'll take
Okay,
it
because
back.
that is a local action that I think that could be effective in just keeping it in families' minds, and by families, often it's the younger children who pick up on things like that and say, you know, why aren't we doing this, or why are we doing this? Why do we have so much garbage? You know, is there something? You know, they read those little things. Often the parents ignore them.
Yeah, I wonder if you can, because we live within a certain consumerist economy with certain global markets, right? And how do we reconcile, for example, the fact that yes, a lot of our purchases within my household do come from Amazon, but what can I do? Can I consolidate them, even as something simple as consolidating them for the end of the month, right? And doing that one order at the end of the month, that's X number of car trips and truck trips for the circulation of those goods, which in my household, they're usually, relatively needed items and not excess stuff. So those also could be like those suggestions. But I think at the bottom, no matter what we do, there's still an advocacy. There has to be an advocacy so that we can elevate voices.
On the papers now, we're going to discuss some of the things that we had today.
I don't know if they're going in, but I think there's an educational possibility that the education system, I know there's programs in Ottawa, I don't know if they're out here, on teaching kids seed growing and how they actually get their food, other than the package they purchased. But I don't know if there's any here in Prescott-Russell, but I know there's groups that are starting to do that kind of education in the schools, and they get a big response because the kids take it home to their parents.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
This goes back to what you're saying about having your street checklist, though, because you might be saying, I'm not going to order from Amazon all the time and do it once a month. Guess what? Everyone else in your street, they're ordering all the time, right? So your efforts, although well-intended, they don't really amount to a change in Amazon's behavior. In order to get that kind of change going, you have to get everybody, here's what we're doing. Every second Tuesday, that's the day. But I mean, these are really difficult because even then, that scenario, everyone else on the next street over, they don't change their behaviors, right? So you might be saving 80 meters of car driving, and so the application of these solutions become very problematic, and and sometimes there's other events that happen as a result that we cannot foresee. Maybe as a result of maybe everybody in the whole neighborhood decides that, but then this causes another spillover effect at Amazon's level, so they've got to readjust other things, and they change things, and the net effect is actually maybe worse off, so these are not easy issues, and I'm not trying to discourage anyone from continuing on, because the worst thing to do is try to do nothing at all. If you do something and you end up with a negative effect, hey, document it. We know that did not work. So at least next time it comes with like, no, we're not going to try that because it didn't work. You know what I mean? Because and sometimes timing is the issue. Sometimes a delay like that later on is at a critical stage and it causes severely bad outcomes. Whereas right now, just like kind of we tried, it didn't work, right?
Okay, thanks so much, everybody. I see some people are bringing up their stickies. So I will do my best to give a little summary here. Making the business case at municipal level. Preserving wetlands, bogs, waterways, so we're seeing some of that. Maybe we want to see more of that. Creating models for leadership in business. Examples of what our actions look like, so maybe doing some more storytelling around actions that are being taken. Mettre en place un plan climat, merci, ça c'est un gros partie de notre travail. We're still hoping for commitment from the counties for that. They haven't yet committed. Soil capture, regenerative agriculture, composting. It's happening in different ways, but maybe could be grown. Thank you for the lights. ban planned obsolescence. Sorry, I hope I got that word right. Heat pumps, underline, yes. Influencer et éduquer les développeurs et les politiciens. Penser plus loin que la réduction des greenhouse gas, réfléchir aux autres dimensions de la transition. So it's not just about reducing. Property assessed clean energy programs. Municipal property assessed energy programs. Oh, to enable people to get heat pumps, better insulation. We are seeing some really exciting programs starting to happen around retrofitting and energy consumption that, yeah, it'd be great to see more of that. And as EcoEast, we're kind of asking ourselves how we can get the word out more about those programs and do more storytelling about people who have taken those steps in their homes. So on a very individual level, what can we do? I see a lot here about conversations. So again, I think today everybody coming here, thank you for being here, because I think that this is something that we can do. And maybe our conversations that we're having today are conversations that we're going to take to the dinner table tonight with those who weren't able to join us, and continue spreading the energy that we have here, the ideas that we have here, the community that we have here even. Rethinking your needs. What do we want versus what do we need? Climate change plans, so writing to politicians, telling politicians what matters to us. It's free to do that, and I know that they don't have endless time, but I think that it can be pretty powerful when they're receiving a lot of messages from a lot of people about what priorities are. I see things here on stopping destruction of key ecosystems, des tourbières et alvars. Getting a subdivision to adopt net zero. I would love, maybe on lunch we can talk about like what could we do as individuals to get a subdivision to adopt net zero? What could we do as individuals to stop those destructions that we're seeing? Because those are really big challenges, and they're really, really hard to figure out. We have conversations about that a lot at EcoEast. Engaging youth through education, notice, eat seasonably, grow food, support businesses with good practices, so celebrating the businesses that are taking good steps. Talk about it at dinner. This one, I'll admit, I added volunteer and support Merofran, volunteer and support EcoEast, EcoEst. Acknowledge my privilege and my impact on the environment. Sometimes it's something like that that's not always obvious right away, that puts us in a headspace. I totally agree. Keep talking about it. Prioritize people. Reduce isolation. So Richard and I had a conversation about that. Start on an individual level with sharing with our neighbors and our friends. And maybe something like a green commons could grow from that. There are a sense of collective wealth and prosperity. I see mention of financial pieces. Draw attention to the financial benefit of action for businesses. So again, celebrating businesses, letting them know how much we appreciate steps that they are taking. EcoEast will be launching a Green Business Awards program in January, so please look out for that and consider nominating businesses that are doing good things around sustainability. I also see the words investment, and I didn't, anyway, sorry, I wasn't thinking about this when I was working on it, but investing in green financial products as well. So, looking at where our money is going at the bank and in our investments is also another step. Invest in reusable products is another great step. Utiliser plus de choses réutilisables. And taking care. I was really glad to see some people adding things that have been working for them, the way that they take care of themselves and of each other while doing this work. So, sortir dans la nature était très, très commune ici. I think we're all nature lovers. It's probably part of what brings us here. Connecting to the land. Nature bathing is another term there that's kind of similar, I think. but I should learn more about it. Be the change that you want to see. Find like-minded friends, take action, seeding local plants and insects. Just, yeah, for me, just getting my hand in dirt sometimes is really therapeutic and helps me reconnect and remember what matters. Meditation, celebrating nature through your art. So someone put that they're a photographer and that's how they celebrate nature. So if you have different art forms, I love that idea, artistic expression. And I think we'll leave it at that. But please, je vous invite à consulter ces tableaux pendant le dîner. Continue having conversations around the table. And maybe even with your family and with your friends tonight and in the coming weeks.
So again, thank you so much everyone for taking part in this historical event, really, that's what it is, right?
Hello and welcome back to TVC 22. I'm Bruce de la Cruz, and today we're here with Stephanie Marcil, the lead organizer for the Community Assembly on the ecological and climate crisis put on by Eco East with support from members of the UCPR group for climate action. Stephanie, how are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Doing well. Thank you so much for speaking with us today. So the event is over. How do you think it went?
I think it went well. There was a lot of participation, a lot of discussion. I'm actually really pleased with the results. It was quite interesting to hear the tables buzzing and know that people were really getting into it. And there was a lot of people that were speaking out too, which was great.
Can you give us a little bit of a summary of what was discussed as well?
Oh my gosh, yeah. Really, we were debating the question today, how can humanity address the ecological and climate crisis in a fair and effective way? So that's really what we were trying to get at, people's feelings and beliefs and ideas on what we can do to address this together.
And so during the presentations, a lot of emphasis was put on global actions, but also a lot on local action as well. So how does the climate crisis affect us here in the UCPR specifically?
Oh man, well, I'm not the expert on that, but I really think that that climate change is impacting all of us, but in different ways, and that's kind of what we tried to get at the beginning of the assembly, is just to realize that everyone is experiencing climate change in a different way, and even though, you know, here in our region we might not be experiencing it how someone on the other side of the world is, we are all having feelings about it, and we are all impacted whether we realize it or not. So yeah, that's what we were really trying to get at today.
Perfect. And just kind of adding on to that, when people leave here today, what do you hope they'll take with them? What's the point of bringing everyone together in one space?
You know, I really wanted to provide our community with the opportunity to participate in this global conversation. And I really wanted to signal to our municipal leaders that our community cares about this issue, and that we realize that all levels of government need to be involved, and that there's a lot that we can do here locally within our region to take action and to participate. So I really want people to just continue this conversation when they go home, and to just keep that momentum going, because I think we're really starting to see that in our region. It's really important.
And what does keeping the momentum going look like on an individual level and just on a municipal level?
Just keeping that conversation going. There's a group of us that are, you know, active in our communities, and we're putting on events such as this. You know, we're asking our municipal leaders to create a climate action plan and to take action. So, I mean, you can join, you can volunteer, you can do little things in your daily life, make, you know, small changes in the way that you consume, and just think about the crisis in general.
Mm-hmm. And we did a story earlier this year with Lacey Deacon, who was mentioning, this was just at the beginning of the climate action plan and presenting it to municipalities. That was back during the summer, and what's happened since then?
Yeah, so we've made presentations to all the municipal councils now. And we brought it forward to the UCPR Council to consider our ask, so to join the Partners for Climate Protection program, to make a regional working group to help set up a climate action plan, and to start taking these actions sooner rather than later. So they have agreed to join the Partners for Climate Protection program, but there still is a lot of discussion on whether or not in the region we have the capacity to actually create a climate action plan. So we're still working at it, we're still meeting with our leaders and urging this to go forward, because it really is action that needs to happen at the municipal level. So we're all here as volunteers to support, and we're just going to keep urging our municipal leaders forward to take this action.
Is there anything that you as a group can do to kind of not speed up the process, but just yeah, I guess speed up the process, trying to talk to the municipal leaders?
Yeah, I think just not to lose that momentum again, right? To just keep reaching out and keep pushing forward, and having events such as this where we get other people engaged too. It might inspire them to contact their municipal leaders, right? The more voices that speak up about this, the louder we become, the more pressure they're going to feel to actually take action, because they know that we're serious about it and that our community does care. So it's just to keep that momentum going and to keep our voices heard and to keep pushing and keep pushing.
Why do you think the municipal leaders aren't really ready to fully commit yet?
That I don't want to I don't want to make any assumptions. I think we have support of a lot of our municipal leaders. We actually had a council member, I believe from the nation, here with us today. So I wouldn't want to say that we don't have their support. I think we have a lot of support, but as you could see from the event today, it's a very complex issue that we're in, and not everyone fully understands it. Not everyone can see the path that we need to take to make change. It's just so big, right? So we need to start breaking it into smaller pieces and seeing what's realistic for our region and what we can actually do.
Perfect. And just a few more questions there, Stephanie. Why is it important, again, to have these community discussions?
Well, because it's our community, right? It's where we live, and it's, it should be a healthy and comfortable place for us. So, yeah, I just think it's really important to have that community voice heard. Yeah.
Perfect. Second last question, where does fighting climate change start in your opinion?
Where does fighting climate change start?
Yeah.
Well, it starts here, right? It starts at the community level. It starts with awareness. It starts with education and conversation and creating a shared understanding of what's going on, not only here, but around the world, right? And creating that sense of empathy to understand that, like I said before, everyone's experiencing it differently. So, yeah.
Perfect. And thank you so much, Stephanie. I think the last thing I want to let you do is kind of give you the platform just to let our viewers know what they can do / how to get in touch with you, and just some other initiatives that are coming up in your calendars.
Yeah, so you can contact us through Eco East. Mero Franc was also here. It's a group that's active in the region. So you can reach out to us if you'd like to volunteer, if you'd like to get active, write to your municipal leaders, demand climate action. We've also got the UCPR official plan review coming up. So that's how our region will set forward to develop over the next 30 years. So making sure that we're taking environmental considerations in when we're talking about how we are going to develop and transform our region. So yeah, just keep the conversation going and get involved as much as you can. And if you can't get involved, make one small change in your life, one little thing. To acknowledge that you understand what's going on and you want to participate and be part of the change.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Stephanie.
Thank you.